All right. Evil Dead the game, survivor ability tier list. As with my other tier list videos, the link to the tier list that I've made is in the description. As you can see, it's kind of, it took me a long time to make, folks. I don't know why there's multiple ashes in there, but whatever. I'll have to fix that later. But yeah, that's the tier list there in the description. If you'd like to make one of your own, go ahead and do it. But I'll try to get through this as fast as I can, do it in order. Also, you need context on some of these things. Like, some of the abilities are like, they'd be okay on other characters, but they're bad on this character because it doesn't really fit the rest of their theme. There's stuff like that. I'm making a lot of assumptions about some of these abilities too, based on information I've heard. The biggest one is like weapon masteries. I've heard that the increase from weapon masteries is very, very small. So I'm gonna rate them probably pretty low. I'm just letting you know that right away. All right, first thing is show up and blow up. It's an active skill that generates an explosion, damaging enemies' balance bars. 30-second cooldown, 13.1 blast radius. It's pretty good, I guess. 30-second cooldown's nice. It doesn't do a whole lot on its own, but like having something that is only 30 seconds is pretty good. Like, he's going to be able to spam this quite a bit, and it will help give you, I think, a lot of breathing room. It's good when used in combination with other people, like AOD Ash, who needs to spam finishers, or Arthur, who needs to spam finishers. So it's pretty good in that regard. It's okay. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing fantastic. I would probably put it in B tier. It's good. It's not great. El Jefe this is his aura ability that affects all survivors within range, increasing their fear resistance and the damage they inflict. The damage is 10%. The fear resistance is 20%. 20% fear resistance is pretty good. So basically, if you stick with your team, that's a big deal for a lot of the characters in this game. Like, AOD Ash has really bad fear resistance. Evil Dead 2 Ash has really bad fear resistance. And really just hunters and warriors in general. So that's a big deal to give them that fear resistance if you're near them. So that's fantastic. I think it's a decent ability. It's not like one of the super OP abilities or anything. So I would probably put it... I don't know, where would I put it? Oh, I had the wrong thing. This is supposed to be a B tier. I would probably put this in A tier. El Jefe. Old friend, start the match with a chainsaw. I don't love stuff where you start with a weapon. Most of the time you can find that weapon, especially if you're communicating with people. This is only really like helpful in solo queue and in the beginning of the game where people don't know like who needs what. As time goes on, I think people are going to understand, like, hey, you know, these ashes can use the chainsaw. We need to tag them if there's an ash in the match. And then it's going to be less important. So I think this is kind of it's not like a bad ability by any means, but I think it's a C tier ability, honestly. And then his level 25 is El Jefe Grande, which enhances your aura's effects when you perform a finisher or dismember an enemy. The enhancement is 100%. Which is ridiculous. That's really good. 100% improvement is nuts. I don't think it's S tier though. I don't think it like breaks the game or anything. So as much as it kind of like pains me to do it, I think it's just A tier. It's a really good ability, but it's not like busted or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, 100% is crazy. You know, assuming that it doubles everything, that's 20% damage and a 40% fear resistance for your whole team that's around you. That's crazy, especially if you use your shit wisely. Like, if you use a finisher, dismember somebody at the right time, that can be really clutch. So I think it's good. I'd put it in A tier. Annie Nobi. I've been playing her recently. She's a lot better than I gave her credit for in my survivor tier list. The first one is hit him where it hurts. When activated, this skill increases range damage from Annie and any teammates who's near her. It's a 100% damage increase, 15-second duration, 45-second cooldown. This is S tier. It is one of the best abilities in the game. At the time when I looked at Annie, I didn't think much of her. I didn't think that ability was that great. She's insane. Definitely S tier. This ability is nuts. 100% damage increase is disgusting. Even just using it on yourself, it's disgusting. It makes her the best range character in the game when she has it active. And then if you have a hunter on your team who can benefit from it, you're just going to mow down everything in sight. You're going to be one-shotting bosses if you coordinate correctly. So Howitzer, you and all teammates within the aura's effect radius deal more damage with ranged weapons. It's only 10%, so I mean, it's good, but it's not that good. I'd put it in B tier. 10% is not that great. It's all right. Attacks by you and your teammates within the aura's effect radius cause more damage to the balance bar of basic evil units. 25% balance bar damage is great. It's also really good on her because she doesn't want to use a lot of melee, in my opinion. She's kind of like a pseudo hunter. She's like a leader for hunters, basically. So she kind of wants to play like a hunter. So balance bar damage is good because then that means when she does have to melee, she's going to be using finishers pretty easily thanks to the balance bar damage. So I think I would probably I'd probably put it in, yeah, I don't know, I'd probably still put it in B tier. It's better than Howitzer, but it's still not that great. It's good, but it's not like amazing. Slugger, attacks by you and your teammates within this aura's effect radius causes more damage to the balance bar of elite and boss evil units. 100% bonus to boss units. So basically that means like you're gonna stun the boss very, very fast, and it affects your teammates as well. It's not just you. And then it's a 25% bonus to elite units. That's pretty nuts. That's easily A tier, I would say, for sure. I'm hesitant to put it in S tier, but yeah, I'd say it's an A tier for sure. I don't think it's like game breaking, but it's very, very good. Arthur, Lord's Wrath is a 45-second cooldown, 15-second duration, 30% melee damage, and he gets 1 fear reduction. I don't know what the 1 fear reduction is all about, but basically when activated, this ability increases the damage inflicted by your melee attacks on those of your nearby teammates. In addition to reducing fear levels, if Lord Arthur has a sword, he inflicts extra damage. It's really good. Lord's Wrath is very, very good. I would put it in A tier. I don't think it's like broken or anything. It's an excellent aura ability. 30% melee damage is really good. Extra damage if he has a sword is really good. Weapon Master heavy attacks. You and all your teammates with the aura's radius deal increased damage with heavy melee attacks. Start the match with a sword. Starting the match with a sword is really good. Increased melee damage is not, or heavy melee damage is not. Heavy attacks suck. The only time you should ever really be using them is if there's some sort of benefit for it. So like if you're using Arthur and you get Weapon Master heavy attacks, or if you're using Evil Dead 1 Ash, or if you're using Scotty. But otherwise you should always be spamming light, so it doesn't make a big difference to like your teammates around you, because most of your teammates are not going to be using heavy attacks. Weapon Master light attacks, the sister or brother perk of his other Weapon Master thing. Now this one is very good because obviously people are going to be using lots of light attacks. I give that an A. That's really good because everybody uses light attacks, and a 30% damage increase is insane, especially when it's applied to everybody. So that's really, really good. I'm hesitant to put that in S tier. The reason I'm not putting it in S tier is because I think his last ability is in S tier. It's 3-second extra duration. So essentially what this does is every time he executes a finisher, it pauses the timer while you're performing the finisher. That's really ridiculous. That basically means that if you have a good enough weapon and you've spec'd Arthur's perks correctly, he could just keep up Lord's Wrath forever, like for the whole fight. So when you go do the dagger, when you go do the lost pages, when you get to the end game and you're fighting the dark ones and protecting the book, basically he's going to keep up Lord's Wrath that entire fight. And that is outrageous. That is absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, he already gives everybody 30% damage while that's active. And then he's going to give him another 30% damage with light attacks from Weapon Master. Basically, for every single fight, you and all your teammates are going to get a 60% melee damage increase for the whole fight. And that is insane. That is an unbelievable ability. Oh boy, here we go. AOD Ashe, the best character in the game. Wiseman's Potion. I mean, what could you even say about this? First of all, 30% damage increase, 50% damage reduction, 250 health restored, fear reduction. Like, he basically becomes invincible. He does a ton of damage. He restores his health. It has so much ridiculous utility. It's disgusting. And I don't think that any of these things on their own is that, like, outrageous. Like, we just talked about Arthur and his 30% damage increase. It's kind of like, oh, that's good, but not great. But the fact that it does everything, it heals him, it protects him, it increases his damage, it lowers his fear. It does literally everything. So, like, if he's about to get possessed, he can drink it to buy himself time. If he's about to die, he could drink it to heal himself and protect himself. If he needs to kill a boss, he can drink it to kill him. It's nuts. It's arguably, I think, like, the best ability in the game. It's absolutely insane. And the reason Ashe is so insane is because he also has Shield Blast, which makes it so every time your shield loses a bar, it triggers an explosion, damaging any nearby enemies. It does 200 damage anytime he loses a bar. And the bar doesn't have to be full, by the way. He can have a little sliver of his shield bar, and if it goes away, 200 damage, and there's no cooldown. 200 damage all the way around him. Scotty has an ability that's on a 30-second cooldown that deals 100 damage. It does half the damage of this and has a 30-second cooldown. AOD Ashe gets to do double that damage on no cooldown. That is insane. The Shield Blast is also S tier. And then to top it all off, he has Finish Strong, which is after Ashe finishes an enemy, he recovers part of his shield bar. So that combos with Shield Blast. He performs, if he has no shields, he performs one finisher, and that immediately gives him Shield Blast back. If he gets hit once, Shield Blast goes off and deals 200 damage. So as long as he's spamming finishers, he's basically generating shields, which is making him, like, unkillable, losing the shield, doing huge damage, gaining it back. It's a crazy loop. It's another S tier ability. It's another S tier ability. He has 3 S tier abilities. And the funny thing about him is his worst ability is his last ability. And I think that's one of the reasons why AOD Ashe gets the most complaints. Not only does he have 3 S tier abilities, it's his first 3. And then his worst one is his level 25. I do think AOD Ashe is the best character in the game, but I think as people start to level up and unlock other people's level 25 abilities, where their level 25 is their best ability, you'll hear less complaints about AOD Ashe. He may not even be the best character in the game. We'll have to wait and see how other characters perform once they unlock their level 25. Like, I think we'll get to her in a second, but I think Cheryl, her level 25 ability looks so ridiculous, I think she could compete as the best character in the game. And I think there might be a couple of others. But yeah, Weapon Master Chainsaw, the Weapon Master abilities are not good. As I understand it, this is what I talked about in the intro. As I understand it, the Weapon Master abilities only give like a 5% increase to damage. It's very minimal, so it's not very good. Chainsaw is an excellent weapon. So if he finds a chainsaw, that's great, because the chainsaw is already good, so you already want to pick it up. It's not like Kelly's meat hammer ability, where it's like the meat hammer sucks, so you probably don't want to pick that up even with a 5% increase. So that's good, but it's such a minimal increase. It's not terrible, but it's not great. Oh, poor Scotty. Scotty with his Thunder Thrust is 30 seconds, 100 damage. We talked about this. It's half the damage of Ash's ability on a 30-second cooldown. I'm tempted to put it in D tier, but because it's a lower cooldown and you can kind of use it whenever, I think it's still in C tier. Because you can wait for the right moment when you're like surrounded by a bunch of enemies. You can like strategically run into an area where there's a lot of enemies and activate it. So I think it's okay just for that. Your heavy melee attacks inflict additional damage to nearby enemies. It's only 9.8 feet and it's only 13% damage. So I don't really know how good this is. I haven't played Scotty at all yet. But 13% isn't very good, and it's heavy melee attacks. If this was light melee attacks, then this would be a very good ability. It wouldn't be S tier, but it would probably be B or A tier. As it is at 13%, I think it's C tier. Exposure therapy. Partially reduce your fear levels with every enemy you kill. It's only 5 reduced fear, dude. Only 5? This would be maybe okay if it applied to you and your teammates that are near you. It would maybe be okay if it only applied to you, but it was a lot more, if it was like 15 or something, but only 5. And it has to be an enemy you kill. So like you could do 90% of the damage to somebody and get them staggered and ready to, you know, be finished, and your AOD Ash comes over and spams F and finishers them. And then you don't get that benefit. Like somebody could steal your kill. So I actually think this is legitimately D tier. Our first D tier. And then Weapon Master Lumberjack Axe. If you saw my tier list on the melee weapons in this game, Lumberjack Axe is the best weapon in the game. Because of that, I don't know. I'm probably not gonna put it above C tier because it's like I said, it's not a huge increase. It's only like a 5% increase, but luckily it is on the best weapon in the game, so you're gonna want to pick up the Lumberjack Axe anyway, so that's good at least. Henry the Red. Whew, unstoppable. Activating this ability temporarily prevents damage to health or shield. It lasts 7 seconds and has a 60-second cooldowns. 60-second cooldown. Cooldowns. That's S tier. 7 seconds of invincibility is insane. You can literally draw aggro on the boss. It's 7 seconds to just wail on the boss for free. That's where it's used the best. You can use it in a pinch to save yourself if you're about to go down, if you need to do that. It has a lot of utility. But the main way you're going to be using it is to just wail on the boss for free. And using it in that regard is nuts. S tier ability for sure. Shields up, start the match with an additional shield bar. Not that great. But I will put it in B tier, and the reason for that is that because he starts with an additional shield bar, it means he is the only character in the game that gets to have 5 shield bars. So it's not just that he starts with an extra one and then goes up to 4. He goes up to 5. So because of that, I think it's actually like better than you'd think. I put it in B tier. Rebound reflects a percentage of the damage you receive back into your attacker. 30% is a pretty decent chunk. I would put this in B tier, and the reason I'd put it in B tier is because it still applies even when he has Unstoppable active. So even if he's not taking any damage because he has Unstoppable active, it still reflects 30% of that damage that it would have dealt back at the person. So incredible when used in combination with Unstoppable on a boss. Battle Hardened is a 10% increase to maximum health and shield bar length. 10% is not much. It's not great. It's not terrible either, but it's not great. 10% is... it's okay, you know, it's okay.